Am I the asshole for refusing to cook for my boyfriend's daughter even though she had a breakdown? I have been dating this guy, Mark, who has a 14-year-old kid, Jennifer, for a while now. I have only met her a couple of times, so we aren't that close. I started seeing her often after I moved in with Mark during his custody time. We get along fine and I think we are bonding well. There is just one issue. Since I grew up in poverty, I hate wasting food. Jennifer has an issue with food. I am not talking about being a little cranky when hungry. She would cry and scream and even break things if dinner gets delayed by half an hour. During her last visit, work was very hectic for me and Mark. Mark had to go to office while I WFH. Since I knew how busy I would be end of day and how Jennifer gets, I woke up early, prepare breakfast, lunch and dinner. I informed her the same. End of day, I am in so many meeting and calls and Jennifer barged in 15 past her dinner time and told me serve her dinner. I reminded her that the dinner was in the fridge and all she had to do was heat it up. She comes back 15 minutes later and told me that she threw the food away and now she wanted me to give her a snack for the time being and make her something else. I told her that I am not going to do that and then locked myself inside the study. I could hear her screaming and crying and I refused to give in. Once my work was done, 2 hours later, she was still crying. She never heated the dinner. She tried it cold, didn't like it, threw the entire dinner for 3 away and then started demanding me for a freshly cooked dinner. She begged me to cook her something and I told her that I already did cook her something and that she threw it away. I told her she can either cook for herself or wait until her father comes home and he can cook for her. I went to bed hungry as I was so tired. Next day, Mark told me that he didn't get home until midnight and she was still sobbing when he arrived. Although he agrees that Jennifer was acting entitled, he also says that I should have just cooked her something once my work was done as I knew about her food issues instead of letting her cry for hours. I got pissed off and told him that I am not cooking for either of them anymore. Am I the asshole here? Edit, she isn't diagnosed with anything.
Not the asshole. Barring any serious special needs, this should have been nipped in the bud years ago. I could cook my own dinner, a basic grilled cheese, at 8 or 9. I certainly wouldn't throw away food enough for 3 people. Sometimes there has to be a harsh lesson that the world doesn't revolve around you. ETA, I say this as someone who gets panic attacks from the sugar drop when I don't eat.
Not the asshole. Is she okay? Having a meltdown at 14 because food is a little late is quite extreme. And to still be sobbing by midnight. Maybe she needs therapy. Edit, for the record I never suggested she might be neurodivergent. Breaking things, screaming and crying because your food is a little late at the age of 14 isn't healthy in the slightest. Dad needs to sort something out, especially if things are the same at her mom's.
Not the asshole, she threw the food away. You are not her cook or maid to do what she wishes. Unless she has a medically diagnosed problem, throwing away food for 3 people cannot be condoned when both of you are working. That said, why is Mark enabling her behavior? Does he expect you or himself to cook for her, her entire life?
Wow, so not the asshole. I can't believe he lets his 14-year-old act like that. He really needs to discipline her. She's never going to be independent or function in the real world if that's how she acts. She's 14, she can cook her own food. I don't know how you put up with that kind of behavior. Maybe suggest she goes to therapy. She definitely has some issues that need to be worked out.
Not the asshole. I'm not throw the word therapy lightly, but this sounds extreme. At the age of 14 I could cook simple things and bake simple things. First step would bento rule something more serious out with therapy. Crying for 4 to 6 hours is a really extreme reaction, and parallel the second step would be to involve her in cooking and teach her cooking. Every meal she needs to have a chore in.
NTA bro, WTF. Don't give in, she sounds spoiled, and maybe like she needs therapy. Tell your boyfriend to get her some therapy and to stop enabling her behavior. If she keeps acting like this, it can escalate to her becoming a full-on Karen.
Not the asshole. It was nice of you to agree to make food for her. She is 14, she can eat what is prepared for her, fix something herself, or choose to go hungry. If your boyfriend doesn't like the service, he can foist his kid on someone else. I think you are right to make it clear that you're not going to entertain any suggestion that you need to deal with this. Not sure how viable this relationship will be, but I would certainly not be interested in being subjected to that.
Info: does she have any developmental disorders?
Not the asshole. A 14-year-old is fully capable of making a sandwich or scrambling some eggs.
Not the asshole. She would cry and scream and even break things if dinner gets delayed by half an hour. Location flag. That location flag is location flag abusive location flag behavior location flag and daddy dearest is enabling it. Next day, Mark told me that he didn't get home until midnight and she was still sobbing when he arrived. Although he agrees that Jennifer was acting entitled, he also says that I should have just cooked her something once my work was done as I knew about her food issues instead of letting her cry for hours. I got pissed off and told him that I am not cooking for either of them anymore. Good for you. Keep in mind, if you get serious or even marry this guy, the daughter is a package deal. Dump the guy, and get out now.
Definitely not the asshole. Shush is acting half her age. A 14-year-old is perfectly capable of preparing a meal, let alone heat one up. Dude. My 5-year-old can make herself a bowl of cereal or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich if she doesn't want what I made for dinner. Unless I am missing information, is the child autistic or have some sort of impairment that makes this not possible? Then daughter and dad both need a serious wake-up call. Not the asshole. I'd say not the asshole. You made her food and she threw it away. 14 is old enough to use the microwave and not throw tantrums.
Info: is this the only behavioral problem she has?
I was cooking food for 4 when I was 14. WTF. She's a brat for sure, but that comes from somewhere. I'd reassess your relationship. NTA. Edit. I maintain my not the asshole vote as I think the dad is the asshole here, and I agree with a lot of people in the comments suggesting the girl might be autistic and undiagnosed, or have some other developmental issue. I remember my own, undiagnosed, autism at the time, and every time something didn't go the way it normally goes I'd panic too. This is sounding very much like someone on the spectrum. If she is undiagnosed with autism, which is much more common to go undiagnosed in females, then she may not have the tools to be able to cope when she gets like this. Definitely not the asshole for judgment's sake, but there feels like something more going on here which would make it a nah. I think she needs help.
Good for you. At 14, she can cook for herself. If she can't put together a snack, fruit, cheese, bread, or heat up a pizza, can of soup, or microwave a power bowl, someone needs to teach her these basic life skills. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole, and I can't believe she threw food away for 3 people. Even if she hates it, she needs to ruin everyone's dinner. She should have to pay for the ingredients that went into making the dish, and have to cook the replacement meal for 3 by herself. I can't believe that her parents allow her to pull shit like that. Clearly she's been allowed to call the shots and doesn't respect parental figures at all. At 14, she can make her own food if she doesn't like what's provided for her. There's no excuse for this behavior.
Info: does Jennifer have any medical conditions that affect her eating? Was she given directions how to heat up the dish? Does she know that she's expected to make herself something else like a sandwich if she doesn't like dinner? It sounds like she's the asshole, but there could also be other things affecting this story. Also, if she's fully capable but mom and dad haven't given her any responsibilities in the kitchen, they are both the asshole too.
Your boyfriend needs to get her tested if he hasn't already. These are signs of disability, maybe ASD or a behavioral disorder. I do not believe she is spoiled. A meltdown is not a tantrum. Should you have cooked for her? Maybe, maybe not. But you absolutely should have talked to her to try to figure out what was upsetting her so badly. She cried for 2 hours. You as the adult locked yourself away rather than trying to help her. Even at 14, people with mental or developmental issues need help. Your boyfriend should have let you know how to help her since she was in your care, or not left her with you at all.
This kid either needs an exorcism or a diagnosis for special needs. I say this with compassion as a mum to a kid with a legit diagnosis. Get this little shit some help. Now.
Not the asshole. She's acting like a brat. She should be thankful you made her food despite you not sharing a close relationship. If she wanted freshly cooked dinner, she should have made it herself. This kid is so impatient that she wouldn't last a moment when she lines up for a grocery store.
Not the asshole. It is not your place to cater to a spoiled 14-year-old. Even teens with food issues can be spoiled children. Your description doesn't specify what those issues are and how they justify a tantrum by a 14-year-old, but you are under no obligation to cater to her whims.
Info. Does she have some kind of mental health disorder?
Not the asshole. You cooked her dinner and at that age you should be able to use your words to say what's wrong without throwing a tantrum, and even then she could have made herself a sandwich. I do have a question though, is she just spoiled or does she have some kind of behavioral issue that prevents her from behaving rationally? If yes, it might be good for her to talk to a professional.
Not the asshole. Jennifer is at an age now where she can cook for herself. She has issues in regards to food and this would make me want to help her more to start learning because she can't act like this when she is an adult. Is Mark willing enough to start teaching her on how to do things because this isn't just entitlement, there's obviously other issues there and they need to get stopped now before it gets any worse.
I'm not the asshole. She needs therapy for her food issues without a doubt. A young teenager should not be having full-on meltdowns and temper tantrums all because dinner isn't to her liking. What does boyfriend say about all this? Just shrugging his shoulders and saying it is what it is not a solution. What is daughter going to do when she is actually an adult and can't demand food with a snap of her fingers? Therapy. Highly recommend it.
She demanded you serve her. He threw the food out. She had an 2 hours meltdown. She is 14. Geez. What is going on there? I don't know if the girl needs therapy but the father needs parenting lessons. What is happening? Not the asshole. But maybe try to get to the bottom of this. How long shall this continue? What if her meltdowns get violent? Will she ever move out? I mean, have you asked these questions op? You kinda planning your life right. So what's the plan for the future here?
Info. Is she getting help for her issues? Is she diagnosed with anything? This is very strange, beyond brat behavior. Not the asshole. She's 14.
Info. Why are you babysitting his child during his custody time? What would happen if you weren't there? Before you moved in, did he used to leave his helpless daughter alone, presumably to starve until his return?
Not the asshole. However, I'm curious to know if the 14-year-old has some undiagnosed special needs.
Not the asshole. I don't want to go as far as call Jennifer the asshole either since her reaction doesn't seem normal. Even for a brat it seems over the top. Is she in therapy for her food issues? Is she normal otherwise developmentally? Her dad is the asshole for either not getting her therapy and enabling her.
Info. Does she have special needs? This isn't uncommon for some autistic teens and children. If no, your partner needs to get this checked out as this is by no stretch normal behavior. Not the asshole but the boyfriend and the daughter are huge ones. I couldn't help but laugh when I got to the boyfriend's reaction. Basically, yep, my daughter was out of line but you should have catered to that behavior. Just curious though, does the daughter have any sort of handicap or disorder? Or is she just acting like an entitled brat? Even if there is something going on it only slightly excuses her behavior. The dad is the biggest asshole in this. Who was cooking for her before you came into the picture? Sounds like the father isn't always home to make dinner.
Not the asshole, and unless she has some serious disorder this kind of behavior is unacceptable. She is 14. She is more than old enough to cook a simple meal or grab a snack from the cupboard. She did not need to waste the food that was for everyone just because she didn't like it. It sounds like her parents have enabled this behavior to get this bad. She needs help. You did nothing wrong. Also, clearly crying to get her way has worked in the past because unless she has some type of issue she learned if she cries for hours on end, which is ridiculous by the way that the parents will cave.
NTA. If her issues are that extreme, there should be de-escalation plans techniques, and he should have thoroughly gone over them with you. If they aren't actively getting this treated with a professional, then it's not that serious to them and she's just tantruming. So, no, you don't have to make a second meal for that. Surely she can make a sandwich at 14 if she decided to throw a whole meal away. In addition, her dad needs to be the one waking up and making sure she has all her meals ready for the day. That's his job and he's had 14 years to learn her feeding needs. Not the asshole. She throws tantrums like a toddler, at the age of 14, when dinner is even half an hour late. So you accommodate, wake up early and cook breakfast, lunch and dinner for 3. Then at the end of the day, she can't even reheat the food. And throws it away. You did the right thing not cooking for her and you shouldn't in the future either.
Not the asshole. That is a developmental question I ask 4-year-olds. What do you do if you are hungry? It's an appropriate response to say, get food. If a 14-year-old can't feed herself, there are way bigger issues.
Wow, what the fuck is wrong with this girl? She sounds insane and entitled. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. He should teach her how to cook and she can stop being so entitled. NTA, she's 14 and old enough to not act like a toddler lol.
Info. Is there something wrong with this kid that prevents her from making her own food?
Not the asshole. I am wondering if this child is on the spectrum though. It's very strange behavior. I'm also wondering why your husband didn't come home until after midnight on an evening when she was in his care. Perhaps he can't handle her meltdowns and decided to make it your problem.
Not the asshole. She's 14, she can have a piece of fruit or fry an egg if she wants a snack. Even if you didn't have a thing about not wasting food, she's still in the wrong for throwing out a prepared dinner for 3 people because she can't use a microwave. Jennifer also doesn't respect boundaries, walking in on your meeting demanding dinner. She's 14, not 4.
As someone who works with emotionally dysregulated kids for a living, this is highly concerning behavior. She clearly has executive functioning issues and needs professional help to figure them out. Look into professional mental health for her, please. In the meantime, a flowchart of next steps in the event of delayed dinner may help. If executive functioning is in fact lacking, as I suspect, she may not be able to grasp that I can open a can of soup is an option for her. A flowchart listing clearly the options that she is able to independently perform can close this gap. Also, info, does she act this way at friends' homes or just at home?
Info. There are 2 scenarios here that I see. 1. She was raised incredibly entitled. Her father saying you should just give in to her tantrum is the support here. 2. Your edit says she hasn't been diagnosed with anything, but it is possible she has either some kind of eating or mental disorder. All said, she is 14 and should know how to cook at least simple things by now. I was making dinner for my family at that age. For reference, I am male and only on occasion and at my initiative. I like cooking. Now is probably the time to talk to her father and see why she hasn't been taught how to cook for herself at all. She should really know how to use a microwave by now. Not the asshole. Please stick to your guns on not cooking. And I wouldn't have gone to bed hungry, I would have made or ordered something for me and me alone. He needs to get that bratty child under control.
Not the asshole. She is 14 years old and still throwing a tantrum over something she can easily fix herself. This is not normal behavior for someone her age. She needs serious boundaries to set in place for her and therapy.
Not the asshole. She not only threw her food away, but yours took, and then demanded you cook for her panther meal. Nope. She could have possibly made herself a sandwich or whatever. Let your boyfriend deal with their meals from now on. 0.